Welcome to Movies That Matter, the podcast about recent films going above and beyond the call of box office returns to boldly explore a social issue affecting people's lives. I'm Nicole Finari, and with me today is...
Adam Perry.
Hey, Adam.
Hey, Nicole. How's it going?
It's good. What movie are we overanalyzing this week?
This week will be Ocean's 8.
Debbie Ocean, played by Sandra Bullock, gathers an all-female crew including Cate Blanchett, Rihanna, Awkwafina, Helena Bonham Carter, Sarah Paulson, and Mindy Kaling to pull off an impossible heist at New York City's yearly Met Gala. What did you think?
So this movie is kind of an oddity for me because I just didn't really care one way or the other. I could totally take it or leave it. It was entertaining. I laughed. I couldn't tell you a single thing I laughed at right now. It's like that forgettable. But I would totally recommend anyone go see it if they felt like the smallest urge to watch it. That would be.
I'm really conflicted on this one. So here's the problem. Ocean's 11 was made by Steven Soderbergh, which to me, like one of our greatest living directors.
Absolutely.
And I can't not have that bar in my mind when I watched Ocean's 8. Like, I think if it were not a movie like something Soderbergh had made, I would have been like, oh, it was fun. But for me, I'm like, it was crap. It just wasn't well done in so many ways.
Yeah, the direction killed it.
The writing was pretty terrible, to be honest. Like, I mean, all the conversations between the women, like, their introductory setup moments, almost always they're talking about, like, men are dating. And I'm like, really? This is all you think women talk about? Like, give me a break.
Yeah, and it was funny, too, because it's like the whole, like, with the writing, there was no tension in the entire movie either. And with, like, heist movies, you pretty much know they're going to get away with some capacity. But there's, like, at no point are you thinking, like, I don't know how much of a spoiler that is, but that this is, like, gonna go off without a hitch. And it does. There's never any curveball or anything. There's nothing. It's just so caffeinated, but kind of, like, static at the same time. Like, you're just, like, what is happening? Like, what is going on in this movie? Like, I'm laughing, and I don't really know why.
Yeah.
Like, I like all the people in it, but, like, they're not doing anything. Like, there's, like, a plan, but I don't know what it is. And it was just because it was poorly made.
Yeah, it was poorly made. And, like, I couldn't help but think there was, like, a couple of things. Like, first of all, the editing was dreadful. Like, it lingered in places that had no need to linger and didn't linger in places that it should have. And again, you're making an Ocean's movie, like, you have Soderbergh in the back of your mind, and there's two things he does really, really, really well. One of them is editing. The other is, like, getting amazing performances out of pretty much any actor.
Yeah, and I feel like the movie tried to imitate that editing, but it, like, just didn't work at all, because, like you said, it was, like, lingering weirdly and not other times. And I feel like that was, like, what, like, a film student might be like, oh, this is, like, what Steven Soderbergh does in his movies, is, like, they're, like, quirky and weird and stuff. This is, like, missing all the opportunity to make something of it.
Yeah.
It looks so bad.
And the, like, loving filming of all the glitz and glamour in the Ocean's movies, where they were trying to do this in Vogue, and it, like, oh, here's a wall of shoes. Okay.
It was a very unglamorous movie.
Yeah, they didn't,
opinion.
It's like they didn't know how to have that eye. And like, for the heist itself, which I want to pick apart, but, like, one of the things that struck me was, like, everything that they did was so obvious and calculated, right? All of their, like, oh, we're getting stopped by a security guard, and then Sandra Bullock goes off in German. Just my whole thing with that was, like, did you take German in high school? And this is, like, her chance to, like, bring it back.
This is, like, so obviously a distraction.
Yes.
In a museum, like, if these are the guards you're hiring to guard that expensive stuff, they all need to be fired.
Yes.
It's like, my first thought would be like, maybe this person is up to no good around this stuff that isn't as well protected because the rich and famous people are here and they don't do stuff like this. I don't know. It's just not, it doesn't hold up to anything. Any kind of scrutiny is just, like, nothing.
It doesn't. And all I could think of was that scene. I had to go back and watch it earlier today, and I'm going to post the clip in the show notes because too good not to revisit. That scene in the first Oceans between Matt Damon and Bernie Mac when he's like accidentally slips and calls him colored.
Yeah,
and Burning Man.
So good.
Like it's everything about that scene is completely masterful.
Yeah.
They're totally believable as both pulling the con and that it's not a con. You know, like you totally get why Andy Garcia would fall for the ruse. Like it comes off so effortless. And again, I'm not a huge fan of Matt Damon actually, and I'm like, Soderbergh can get a performance out of somebody that like no one else can get. And I think the thing that just struck me too is like there is for lack of a better word, there's like a snap. There's a crackle to a Soderbergh film. Yeah. There's a spark.
From this movie.
Yeah.
And they were trying. I feel like the actors were trying. You know, I don't think anyone really, like, wasn't good in the movie. Like, I don't think it landed on any of them per se. But yeah, it's, like, totally minus that.
I thought Sandra Bullock and Cate Blanchett were good. And I like, there was some, like, homoerotic subtext.
Yeah, I've been reading actually a lot about that, apparently.
And I was like, that was really well done. Like, they do that with two dudes all the time. I was like, yeah, right. Like, do it with two women. I appreciated it. I thought I thought that came off really well.
Like, going back to what you said, too, about Andy Garcia in the first movie is he's not stupid. He's not falling for these cons because he's an idiot. They're just good at it. This whole movie is just everyone is an idiot. You get her coming out of jail. What does she do? She steals stuff from a retailer. Okay, we live in a culture where people that work that job are like nothing. So it's like, you're not a good con artist for doing that. Like anyone can do that. People do it to me. But then you have this like plan that is supposed to be like really smart, but really just everyone involved is just like way dumber than them. And the movie plays them that way. Whereas I believed Andy Garcia was like the shark, and it was like dangerous for them to do this to him. And they pulled it off because they were smarter, but smart too, you know? Like, yeah,
they didn't know how to, like, any of the setup. The first, like, third of the movie dragged really hard because the setup of any of the characters, like, you don't really see them do anything particularly special.
No.
Or novel.
What does Cate Blanchett do?
She's like watering down vodka. I'm so not
But impressed. She's like Brad Pitt in the first movie. Like, it's obvious that they were ripping that off themselves. But she didn't really, like, have a skill.
Right.
I mean, he kind of did. Like, he also didn't really in the other movies. But more so than her, I feel like they gave her, like, nothing.
They gave her nothing to do.
Which is sad, because she's just such a commanding presence in everything.
Helena Bonham Carter played herself. What a waste. Yeah. With an Irish accent.
It took me a while to figure out. I was like, oh, she's supposed to be Irish.
Yes.
Okay.
Richard Armitage, who was the, like, boyfriend. As the first time I've seen him in modern clothes, it like was not so just
The Hobbit,
like basically. Period. He's always in like period dramas, and I was so freaked out by the like sight of him in a t-shirt.
Yeah,
I was like, it was just totally distracting.
But he was fine.
Too. Oh, he did a good job. I'm just saying, like, it was no fault to anybody. I'm like, I'm literally never seen him in modern clothes before. It seems strange.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of like, I don't know, the revenge aspect too didn't land as much in this one as it did in the first one, because like
it's such a cliche.
But in the first one it like made sense because they were ripping him off, and that just happened to be like another motivator. Whereas in this, Sandra Bullock goes out of her way to sort of implicate him, and it just like wasn't necessary. And I don't know, like, of course he's, like, a jerk in the movie, and you're like, I'm gonna see this guy get hosed somehow. But it made it look worse, like, that it's, like, the scorned woman. Like, am I wrong there? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
it
was totally, it was totally stupid.
The optics weren't good, to use, like, a phrase. I don't know, like.
And as the friend I saw it with pointed out, like, so we make this big deal about how she only wants a female team, but then the big reveal is a man had to come.
Yeah.
And do the actual crime for them. Like, just so we're clear on that, like, that's the message.
Yeah.
That part stunk. I will say Anne Hathaway. This is the most I've liked Anne Hathaway in a movie in a really long time. I thought she was really fun and did a good job.
I thought she was great. My one big problem with that, are we getting into this now? So she's like adult the whole movie, and then it's revealed that she's part of, like, she's in on it. And she's a normal / smarter person. So I'm just like, in the movies, eyes, is she then playing stupid all the time?
Pretty much.
And then
that makes no sense?
And I'm just like, yeah, that is, like, really... I get that could be a commentary on, like, how, like, people... Like, women have to dumb themselves down. But it didn't make... Is that accurate? I don't know. It just made no sense in, like, the movie that it would be, like, that much... Like, that is her whole life. That's, like, a whole other movie, is how she has to, like, play dumb and then isn't. And it just... I feel like it was so forced in the context of, like, her part of the crime. You know what I mean? Like...
Oh, totally. No, I'm with you. You're like, what actress now? Like, name a single one who wants to be thought of as stupid.
Yeah.
They're all, like, hyper-political and, like, running their own foundations and production companies.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Nobody does that. Like, that's not a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that didn't... Like, that was, like, a huge plot hole to me.
I mean, there were just so many.
She was great, though.
But she did a...
Big
For what they gave her, she did a good job.
So funny.
And
I also don't really care for her normally either, but
I would be remiss in not bringing this up because it bothered me so much, and it did bother the person I saw it with, who is also a woman. Oh, the filler. Oh, the stuff those women had injected into their face. It was terrible. Like, Sandra Bullock in particular, like...
I don't notice stuff like that.
You don't? Ugh. It's all I could see, and I was like... it's just such a terrible idea for an actor. You're losing half your craft. Like, you can't move your face. Like,
plus, I mean, we age. That, to me, like, the better actors who have had whole careers is interesting later in life, too, right? Like... And there have been women who've defied it, who aren't out there pumping a bunch of stuff into their face. And it's just sad to see, like, this movie very much had that sort of intergenerational mix where... You know, Kate and Sandra were playing this sort of older ladies who knew what was going on. Like, let them show their age a little bit. Like, nobody cares. Yeah.
It just stunk, and I didn't appreciate it.
I'm too clueless to notice stuff like that.
Okay.
I did think that there were, like, a couple things I noticed that were interesting is how there's, like, no one double crosses anybody. That was kind of cool. You know? There's no threat of violence ever.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of interesting. And... I didn't, like, did you feel like there was, like, a male lead, really, in that movie?
No.
Yeah.
They brought in James Corden, who was tonally off and made no sense.
Who is that guy?
Okay.
Does he do anything?
He does, like, this karaoke thing where people sing with him.
That guy. That's him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know a whole lot about him, but yeah. He was, like, tonally, like...
I don't know. That whole bit seemed, like, really tagged on. I would have been even more fine if that just wasn't a part of the movie.
Right.
And it was like, oh, they're really just, like, gonna just get away with it. Fine.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't know how to set up a villain. And to your point, like, Andy Garcia was a good villain because he seemed like he was somebody you really needed to fool. James Corden did not seem like a good villain because he was just...
Well, so we were talking about
sort of, like, comic relief, and it wasn't... I don't know.
But so, like, they know each other at the end, right? Like, that's what that whole, like, diner sequence is about, is they have, like... I don't know if the movie's trying to imply they, like, have a history or if he just knows about her because she's, like, a criminal.
Right.
But I feel like they're trying to, like, have their cake and eat it, too, where they're, like, trying to fool him, but he's also, like, kind of in on it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, like, the whole thing was set up so poorly.
Yeah. I think, as my friend put it, like... And as you started this podcast, like, if this is on TBS, like, go ahead and watch it. But, like, that's kind of all it's really worth.
Yeah.
And,
it's fine. It's not good, though, at all. Like, but it's...
No, and I think just in a larger sense, too. So I've seen this. I didn't see the gender reversal overboard. But obviously we saw Ghostbusters.
Far superior movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know. People really ragged on Ghostbusters, and I don't know why, but...
Chauvin.
Yeah. But I have to say, like, the biggest thing I think this did wrong was just trying to be, like, a pale copy of the original. Like, if you're gonna reboot with all women, like, really make it different. Like, make your own movie with it.
Yeah.
Like, there were soundtrack, like, the jazz soundtrack was so Soderbergh, but it was, like, not quite. So there were so many things that were, like... almost like a Soderbergh movie, but not quite. So then you just notice all the glaring problems or like the differences.
You can't rip off someone like Soderbergh either if you're not anywhere near as good. And I don't mind that director's other stuff, but this is
I meant to look it up. What else has he done?
He did The first Hunger
Recognize the
Games,
name. Okay.
Gary Ross, and I actually liked the first Hunger Games a lot.
I like all the Hunger Games.
The superior
Yeah.
one. And then I know he did the Free State of Jones, McConaughey movie. You know, he's done some stuff. I don't know why he was picked to helm this movie.
Well, he wrote it, so apparently this was something he wanted to do. But it would just...
We can't say it wasn't his fault.
Yeah, but then I will say, like, it smacked of a movie that was written by a dude about women, you know, like, it didn't have that authenticity. I honestly think part of what made Wonder Woman so successful was Patty Jenkins.
Yeah.
Having a woman at the helm of that movie.
I was kind of surprised a woman didn't direct this movie. I feel like, I don't know. Well, not surprised, like... But like it should have been. Yeah, it really should have. And directed by a woman. Yeah. So, moving off of the movie, one of the things, too, when I was thinking about, like, going to see this, and I kind of prepped you on this topic, was, like, I was, like, going through my head of, like, movies with women, female criminals. Yeah. Not honeypot, like, spy, femme fatale stuff. There's plenty of those, dating back to, like, since the time movies began. Beyond, unfortunately. But like legit professional criminal women. And like there aren't any. This was actually more groundbreaking than you would have thought. Yeah. Like Set It Off is one, but it's always like amateurs. Like it's amateurs whose circumstances have forced them into crime. Yeah, they're all criminals. Right. Like these were like they're professional criminals. Yeah. Well, they were professional criminals. Like that was their deal. And I thought the only point in the movie where they even acknowledge that is like Sandra Bullock gives her big speech and she's, don't do this for me. Don't do it for you. Do it for the little girl who's like sitting in her bed growing up and dreaming of being a criminal one day. And I was like, yeah, let's all acknowledge that woman exists, right? That was funny. You reminded me of a part I laughed at. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Like the one type of movie that I don't watch full stop are mafia movies. Yeah. I don't like mafia. I don't like the mafia. I grew up with the mafia. I know what the reality of the mafia is. I think it's sick that all of these people are basically profiting off of human tragedy while glamorizing organized crime. Yeah, making it look cool. But I'm like, and they're always dude movies. Like they're always all about men. They're never women like mafiosos. Yeah. Like, there are some, there are definitely some happening in sort of the telenovela world. Like, there's some, like, female, like, Queen of the South. Like, there's a few of them that are kind of creeping in where they're, like, female drug lords. Yeah. And you got, like, Animal Kingdom is kind of like that. But, like, it's still, like, the matriarch is manipulating the sons to do things. It's not, like, full, like, she's in charge, like, kind of thing. So. And the far and away, to me, the best season of Justified was definitely the Margo Martindale season. She was great. But I feel like... The Bennetts? I can't remember. Yeah, that was great. I feel like, it continues to perpetuate this myth that, like, women are the better angels and are, like, the moral gender. Yeah. And that we only do bad things if, like, again, sugar and spice. We get pregnant. Yeah, like. You got nothing else. Right. And, it's always to help other people, right? Like, we can't just be bad for bad's sake. Like, we're not given that license by the, like, Hollywood industry. Dead Presidents, they had one of the... Did you ever hear that movie? They had a female member of the team that was just into doing crime for the sake of the crime. But that's, like, hardly... Yeah, it's rare. Like, it was rarer than I thought when I was thinking about it. And then we have, I promised Christopher I would bring this up too. We have the, like, famous, won her Oscar for it, Charlize Theron movie about Monster. You know, like, the only movie about, like, a female serial killer. I haven't seen that movie. Well, they, like, she gets the Oscar for, like, being brave and being ugly. Yeah. Have you ever seen The Real Woman? She doesn't look as bad. I think they literally make her ugly. Yeah, because the only way a woman can be a villain or be bad is if she's physically unattractive, right? Yeah, like and she's like kind of. She was pretty, which is why she worked as like getting all these men, right? Yeah, like she was an attractive woman. Like they've literally made Charlize Theron uglier
because there's no way she could be this horrible person.
Yeah, and just, like, be a normal-looking person.
So, yeah, I don't think the movie, like, really knew what to do with that.
Yeah.
Like, it was actually pretty groundbreaking an idea, and then they just didn't know how to make it female, though.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't really, like, ride the wave, I guess. They start with that idea, and it's, like, then it's, like, a super generic fine to watch.
Right, there's
you
nothing...
don't hate it isn't good movie.
Yeah.
It's, like, kind of sucks, but, I don't know, it's, like, making money, and I feel like maybe that's why. It's like you don't have to think too much about it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fine, but I also just think, like, I don't know, like, what? It's frustrating to me that they whiffed it so badly with such a good source material idea. Like, you had a bunch of women being glamorous at a Met Gala. Like, how do you mess that up?
And it was, like, that was, like, 10 seconds at the end. Like, they all have, like, the fancy dresses for, like, a not even seconds long shot. And it's, like... That should have been more, like, it wasn't glamorous at all. Like, they show, like, I guess, when they're introducing the gala, it's, like, there's celebrities and there's, like, the red carpet and stuff. And then you get inside and just see, it looked so staged. Like, it didn't look like a party. It didn't look like fun. Nobody looked that glamorous. It looked like a movie that's, like, I'm in New York and we're shot. And it's, like, it just, like, that whole part of it, like, was the worst looking part, was the gala.
It was, and... It was, you know, aside from, like, all the people who will accuse women if they like makeup or fashion for, you know, quote, ruining feminism.
Yeah.
Like, you had the opportunity here to, like, again, do something pretty transgressive, which was show women, like, being super glamorous and being super criminal. And they just didn't know how to do it. Yeah, like, where do they have Cate Blanchett and Mindy Kaling in, like, chef outfits. Yeah. And Awkwafina in, like, waiter garb.
Yeah.
Like...
And then there's
sexless
like,
as all as you could possibly get.
Yeah, which is a shame. Like, it's
Rihanna as well. Like, as much as they could cover up any of these women's beauty, like, except for Sandra Bullock, like, they did it.
Yeah, I don't know. It was stupid. But it's like you said, they're always, like, the bait, honeypot. It's like that kind of, like, there aren't any movies. The only one I could think of was Set It Off, which I haven't ever really seen. And then the one from Dead President.
Yeah.
It was like...
I had Sugar and Spice, which is a really fun movie. It's, like, much more fun than you think it should be. Yeah. And it just, I don't know. It frustrates me so much that, like, we're doing all this, like, token, now we're showcasing women, and it's, like, nobody really knows how to handle it. Like, nobody really knows how to make...
something good?
Yeah, other than, like I said, Wonder Woman. Like, I gotta think, largely due to a female director... actually being at the helm and saying, like, this is, like, I actually know what women want to see. I think the interesting thing, too, is that, which is why I was glad to have you on for this, like, it's not what I want to see, but it's also not what you want to see either.
No,
like,
yeah, it was fine, like, but it wasn't, like, a memorable or, like, I don't know, like, I'm, like, been just as fine not watching.
Right, and so it's, like, they're playing to... By choosing neither nor, like, by not, like, truly being, like, gung-ho, we're going to make this, like, we're going to play up the fact that they're female. We're going to make it like real women, not like women who talk about Tinder, which is just embarrassing. Like, it was just embarrassing that was even in the movie.
Yeah, it's like somebody is, like old relative. Like, that's what that joke felt like. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, because it was
like... Are we really explaining how this... Like, that's so dated already. Yeah. Like...
also,
like, they wouldn't know what that is. Like, I don't care. It was I'm trying to remember who she was. Was it the suburban mom she was explaining that
No,
to?
it was to Mindy Kaling.
Like, she wouldn't know what that is?
Yeah.
Like, give me a break.
Which,
Come on.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was
No.
It was so ridiculous. And it's just... I just don't think that... I think that you can make a movie that's about women that people will like. Like, I don't think that this is the way to go, where you just make the women just like men. Or you make them sort of generic. You make them...
ciphers. Like, nobody had really, like, a personality in the movie at all. Like,
right.
And they try to cover up for it. It's like, oh, like, here's Rihanna's sister. Or, Mindy Kaling's family wants her to get married. And it's like, that's, like, a second of the movie. Yeah. And it just, like... It's not gonna stick. Like, you don't need to, like, there's just, like, like, introducing everybody. It's just, like, all landed so poor.
Right, but that's
one-dimensional.
Well, and it was one-dimensional. It was like, here's a reason to like this woman because, oh, she's just like every other woman getting ragged on her parent to get married. And you're like, but that's actually, like...
That's, like, a cultural aspect to that, too, though, right? Like...
Sort of, yeah. But at the same time, like, again, it just has that, I don't really know what women are like.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're really worried about getting married and having babies. Like, really? Like, give us a little bit more credit for having interior lives that go beyond that. But aside from that, the whole point of all those setup scenes was to say why they needed to be on the team.
Yeah.
So, like, again, in the original Oceans, they sort of showcased the talent of the people, and in this one they were like, oh no, we'll just talk about her love life,
and she works in a diamond store, like, or whatever. It's
like show her being super competent at something. Like, that's how you set it up. You're like, this is why she's the best person for the team. And as like somebody pointed out in a review, Sandra Bullock has this line where she's like, oh, I need women because like women are invisible.
Yeah, we're not noticed. Like,
and then like
him gets noticed. That's what she said, right? Like, that
never comes up. Yeah. In the actual heist.
Yeah.
The not getting noticed bit.
Oh, it's like you're getting noticed the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, by everybody.
It has zero to do with that. Like, that actually doesn't come through at all. Like, that is not a plot point to the heist at all.
Yeah.
So.
I just, like, feel like it was, like, almost, like, inoffensively really bad.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I mean.
That's and any exactly of, like, the stuff you mentioned, like, with, like, the marriage plot point, it's, like, it's so, like, it's almost, like, more, like, eye-rollingly stupid than, I mean, maybe because I'm a dude, but it's just, like, it just seems, like, just, like, so silly. Like, that you're really, like, they're talking about, Tinder or getting married, like, it's so dumb. It's, like, not even, like, I can't even get angry. It's just, like, it's so, like, tin-eared. I don't know. And
yeah,
then,
it's like a comedy routine from the 90s. Yeah, like, oh, women.
It's like women be shopping.
They be really, shopping. Yeah. They get their period. Like,
are we doing this? Like, I feel bad for you for making this. Like, not like for the opinions you're putting out there. It's more like, wow, you really think this? It's embarrassing for you.
Yeah. And again, like, I don't think that you can't sell women to male audiences. Like, that's always been, that's always been the rationale. That's why that's why Disney has kicked the can down the road on actually having a female-led superhero movie, like, is that men won't watch women.
It's silly. It's like, I mean, it's not true, but, like, I mean, if they're doing it, I'm saying it's not true that they will watch that.
You're a man.
Yeah, I would watch it.
I don't think it's true. I don't think...
What, that it would sell, or, like...
I think it is a harder sell. Like, if I'm totally honest, like, yeah, like, The Hunger Games did amazingly well, but its audience was, like, 50-50.
And it was so, like, built in already. It was, like, the books was so successful.
Right. But, like, most of your Marvel stuff is pretty heavily male. Like, it isn't 50-50. No. Like, if you had gone by the number of men who've gone to see it would be far fewer. The numbers were made up by the fact that, like a Wonder Woman, like, a ton of women came out and saw Wonder Woman that would have never seen, I'm sure, like me, have never seen any of the DC movies, like, in the theaters.
Yeah. But they have the brand, though. They should do it. Like, the amount of, like, firepower, I guess, that Marvel has. Like, they're doing one. One's coming out in March, I think.
Well...
So, like, they definitely did delay it, like, super.
I just... like, kind of tying it all together then. So you have this sort of long history of the femme fatale, right? So that is an established character. So you can be sexy and evil, right? But you can't be, like, sexy and good?
Yeah.
Like, is that what we're saying? Like, you can, well, the femme fatale is based on that you use your sex for good, right? You can't use your sex for good. And if you are good, you're somehow, like, too masculine, or if you're fighting a bunch of people, or you're sort of sexless in that way. Like, that's kind of what they do with these women. Like, for, again, a movie that's about fashion and glamour, the only one they actually allow to have, they give two women sex appeal, Anne Hathaway and Sandra Bullock, and Anne Hathaway is not supposed to be, right?
Yeah, until I guess, like, that was a surprise.
Well, they sort of implied that she wasn't in on it all along.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so it's like, I don't know. I'm like, why are we still at this point?
Yeah. And then we do get a groundbreaking movie, and it's just, like, so vanilla, for lack of a better word. Like,
right. Or then everybody is, like, absolutely astonished that Wonder Woman doll.
Yeah. Which is, kind of silly.
And you're like, Gal Gadot is one of the most beautiful women on the planet. Like, shocker that anybody wanted to see her in skimpy clothes, like, fighting some Germans.
Or like in a DC movie that didn't look like it was taking place entirely like at night in the rain with like people growling at each other, and it was like 5 hours long. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've exhausted this topic, but I do hope the movie does well. It is doing pretty good, which is good, because I do think that there needs to be... I'm not going to see a female mafia movie any more than I'm going to see a male mafia movie, but dang it, it's time for a female I'm throwing it out there. Like, who's remaking Casino with an all-female cast?
And it's like the movie isn't bad enough for me to wish it to fail, and I want it to do well.
I want it to do well. I'm excited for the other projects some of those actors have going for them, though. Although Mindy Kaling really needed a little redemption after Wrinkle in Time.
Didn't see it, no interest.
It was so bad.
Looked like Tomorrowland.
All right, well, tell us something we see. Recommendation for the week?
Let's see. Watch movie came out in 2014 called The Rover. Very accurate portrayal of what the end of the world will probably look like. I'm going to go home and watch it right now. You should too.
I am going to throw out, this movie is honestly one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. And it's one of the least well-known Steven Soderbergh films. If you've not seen Out of Sight,
so good.
You are doing yourself a disservice. It is like the only movie Jennifer Lopez was ever really good in. It's so amazingly well done. Like, it's just so good and so fun. And like I said, it has that snap, that crackle, the banter between all the characters is so on point. It's super violent, I will warn people. It's pretty violent.
It's really good though.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it's in one of my top 10 favorite movies. Like, I love that movie. So
while we're on this, can I throw out a Soderbergh too?
Yeah,
Even
go ahead.
Less well known than that one. Not that this is a competition or anything. But The Limey, probably the best revenge film ever made. And it has Terrence Stamp, who is great. But it's also super short if you don't have.
Okay. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Movies That Matter. If you did, please take a second to leave a review on iTunes and recommend it to your friends. Check out our website at moviesthatmatterpodcast.com for links to things we've discussed and to visit our store. Leave a comment for us on our Facebook page or check Twitter. Our tag is at moviesmatterpod. And I'm trying to be on my game and post what the next episode's going to be about the week before, so you know what you should watch that weekend, so you can be ready for this episode. So stay tuned on Twitter. And remember, movies matter.
So do you.
We'll see you next time.